What's up, Ride Warriors, and welcome back to the long-awaited next episode of Ride Warrior Wrestling. I'm, of course, the face that runs the place, Andy Rabarchak, joined once again by Mr. Maverick himself, Rob.
Why don't we just call me One Rob Dole?
Dole.
Maverick, the whole me picking Maverick. I mean, picking Maverick.
The name got to be taken. The Maverick name's got to be taken. You are One Rob Dole, ORB, Orb, I guess for short.
Orb.
So we are here tonight to talk a little bit about Wrestlemania and two matches in particular. Two matches that kind of like broke the mold maybe a little bit that we weren't really expecting. So the first one we're going to talk about is that guy, the Boneyard match, not the Graveyard match, the Boneyard match between The Undertaker and AJ Styles. Now, Rob, when I first heard of this, the first thing that came to my mind was the Hollywood back alley brawl between Piper and Goldust. And I kind of thought that that's what this was going to be, where it was going to be pre-taped and we knew it was going to be in a different location. But I like this one was a lot different than the Hollywood back alley brawl. This one was kind of like the best word to say is cinematic is the word everyone's using right now, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, I guess. No,
that's the word.
Both of these matches we're going to talk about, there are very cinematic. It's what were they calling it? A segment, basically. They're saying that a lot of people are saying these are segments, not matches. This one was more of a match than the other one. This one's more of a actual brawl, like you were saying, like the Piper brawl. It's pretty much the same thing. It's all it is hitting each other, using objects that you can see around you. You had a run-in with the club.
So, absolutely, right.
There was a lot. I mean, it was a very. The cinematic part of it was crazy. I mean, once it started with when they panned to like the graveyard itself, and then you see the hearse, and you're thinking, oh, they're bringing Taker because you hear his music, and then of course pops out it's AJ.
I thought that was like that really set me up. I'm like, okay, because I didn't even think about it really. I was just experiencing the moment, and then when AJ popped out, that was outstanding. I'm like, okay, the one criticism though, based on the entrances, is people have been criticizing that Undertaker used Metallica and not American Badass.
Yeah, instead of using the Kid Rock, many different things. I don't know if who knows what the rights were with Kid Rock. I mean, we don't know if they could have said, okay, well, we're instead of using. Remember when he had a generic entrance? Remember that generic song that he used to have? Mm-hmm. You done it now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know why they didn't use that either, but I actually like the Metallica one. I thought the Metallica song, was perfect for the match ahead. So,
honestly, I didn't think about. That's another thing I didn't really think about, because in every one of Taker's matches recently, especially with his whole, feud with Triple H at WrestleMania, they've been using a lot of heavy metal in those songs, whether it be Motorhead doing a song. Sometimes they've used Metallica to kind of hype up those matches. So I don't feel like it's out of character all that much. I thought the Metallica worked here just as well as maybe Limp Bizkit. I don't know. Who knows? But for the match itself, I thought it went on a little bit long. I know a lot of people haven't been saying that. I thought it went on a tad long. Undertaker was huffing and puffing a lot through the match. And kind of like stalling, and they said that it took them almost 8 hours to shoot the whole thing. And I'm kind of like, wow, that's a really long time to be shooting out there. But I thought it had a nice story. AJ beating on the Undertaker, They're back and forth here and there. I thought the spots with the Druids was cool when they circled
Yep.
the Undertaker, and the lighting effects were cool. The fog was cool. But then when you said when the OC or the club came out, that I really like that part too. When they're fighting up on top of the roof of the shed or whatever, those sounds that shed was making were like perfect wrestling sounds.
Yep.
Like you heard that all the way over, wherever you were. For the match, what are some of your thoughts on the match itself?
Well, okay, so I liked I like this because it's better. It's honestly better than the empty crowd. The empty crowd stuff,
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It was falling flat the whole night. Like
the girls,
I don't rely on the crowd. I guess I never realized how much I kind of rely on the crowd to key me into what's happening. If I kind of like drift off, like it pulls me back in. The crowd enhances some of the stuff, even though I kind of bitch about how the crowd reacts sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's stupid, but it's still getting me involved in the story.
And before I talk about like how I feel about that match, just to dwell a little bit on the rest of the show, the rest of the 2 nights, it was too big for 2 nights or too big for 1 night or whatever. So they had to do it 2. I don't know. It's good because remember last year we were kind of bored. Remember last year we were kind of like, oh, this is too long. God, can this please stop, please?
Yeah.
It was way too long. So it was good. It was in 2 nights. I was fine with it.
I thought it was perfect. It seems like they cut down the promos before. They cut down. They still had commercials, but they didn't seem like it was taking away. They seemed like the perfect length. It seems like the balance between wrestling and all the other nonsense was actually pretty good. It had a pretty good feel for both nights.
Yeah. But the only problem I had, and it's going to be the problem for a while, is there's no crowd. And the one of the matches that really got to me, especially on, I think it was night 2. Was it night 1 or night 2? Was it? It was Charlotte versus what's her face?
Rhea
Ripley, and the grunting and the screaming was a little over the top. And it's fine when there's a crowd there because you hardly really hear it, but it kind of takes away from any kind of story that's being told because all you hear is a bunch of screaming and grunting, and it's like,
well, and that kind of goes back to like everyone else I thought did it well. I thought the Kevin Owens Seth Rollins match was a perfect example of how to do it.
I thought so too.
But Charlotte doesn't know what she's doing in the ring anyway. And this is just another example of Charlotte not knowing how to actually wrestle, being over the top. Her promos are the same way where she starts yelling like this and she thinks it's really cool. And it's not. It's just yelling. It's like,
worse with no crowd.
Theater. It's like when kids just yell to act. No, yelling is not acting. Sorry, you're just yelling.
It's worse. It's worse with no crowd. So back to the Taker thing, it was great to have some music, something where you feel like there's actually something going on.
Yeah. The music was a little cheesy at points. It did hit me. I'm like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have done like that, like because it at points it became real noticeable. And at some points, you just accepted it for what it was, and at some points, it's like, oh, okay, why?
But like, just the whole match. I mean, I just watched it. Like I watched it again. I had to watch it a second time. It's harder to watch the second time. This one is. The cinematic part of it was great, especially like when Taker was standing right in front of the shed area and the light came on before the Druids come out. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The light coming on right behind the tractor, that was pretty awesome. So they did, like you said, they used the lights, lighting effects really well. The sound of the, like you said, the sound of the shed part, the shed on the roof was good. Taker did seem a little awkward at times because his age. The one part I did notice was the choke slam. The
Mhm.
choke slam, he kind of pushed him instead of like picked him up, and he kind of just pushed him over, which of course it's his age. But the way Taker handled his, the whole him kind of being old and not him his original as a regular self, he did pretty well. You felt at times, you felt like it was badass Undertaker.
Well,
Um,
and the thing about it is the cinematic style actually hid a lot of that. Whereas,
yeah,
in the last few years, we've been looking at Undertaker at WrestleMania,
a
and it's
mess.
kind of like, oh, why is he still doing this? But the cinematic style actually hid a lot of that. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
see that. And I think some of it was booked that way too, to make it feel like that, because that's the storyline. AJ kept saying he's an old man, he's washed up, and so that's part of the story. But I think the cinematic style actually really helped Taker, and like we were talking about before, I would not mind seeing Taker's every future match be this style for the rest of his career.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that would. I mean, the rest of whatever career he has left. I mean, you know, uh, it would be nice to see him again next WrestleMania with this kind of thing. I mean, if he sees the positive, because there's a lot of positive feedback with this, a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah.
So if he's like, wow, I could do this for another 2 years or whatever, I mean, that would help prolong his character and give him an ending that it's better suited for his character, because we don't know what kind of ending is actually perfect for Taker. Is this a perfect ending? I don't think it is.
No,
I
not
like
this.
I love AJ Styles, but I don't think AJ Styles is the best ending opponent. You need like you were like before we started this, Sting. Sting would be a
Sting.
great final opponent.
And you could protect Sting too. So if Sting is actually having neck issues still, which he says he's not, we don't know for sure, but you could protect both Undertaker and Sting. Like, I wonder at the end of this, because they said the shooting was 8 hours, so you're taking a bump here or there over the course of 8 hours. That's got to be a lot less wear and tear on your body than doing a 30-minute match bell to bell at WrestleMania in front of 80,000 people. So you said Fiend, I said Sting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys that you could do a more mystical aspect with, and get a really good match out of it. And everyone's been like, oh, we missed the boat on Undertaker Sting. Like, that should have happened like 5 years ago.
But this opens up a new chapter. I mean, you could actually bring that back. You could have something crazy.
You could have Undertaker Hogan do this too. Like you could.
Oh yeah.
You could run so many, and I'm not even saying just Undertaker. You could run almost any person. You could run a Vince McMahon Hogan match. I don't know. Could you get away with a Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin match? That match we've always been crying for. Austin might not have to even take a single bump. I don't know. You just fight a little bit here and there. So it really opens up, and I want to see the backstory on this. I know we'll get the backstory eventually. They filmed something for 24 for the network. And I want to know what the end result on the wear and tear was. Was this a lot easier to do? I would assume it is, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Because if it is a lot easier to do, you could open up a lot of big matches in this style and still have them be pretty presentable and believable.
Now you're big into Lucha Underground. I'm not a big fan. I think it's fine. This kind of resembles more of the Lucha Underground style.
Well, Lucha. So when you got to Lucha, the in-ring stuff was pretty. There were some mystical things that happened with Lightning and Brian Cage and the Gauntlet. But that stuff's always happened in wrestling too. The wrestling was always in the ring. Lucha, they really switched to the cinematic style for their backstage segments. And I think that's where a lot of people are calling these segments and not matches. I don't get hung up on such nonsense. But all of their backstage stuff was done in your novella type situation, very cinematic, very soap opera-y. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And I loved the stuff that they did. They had people come back from the dead, die, and, do all this crazy stuff. There's a lot of crazy storylines, but it worked. It worked for Lucha. And I think it could work with some of these characters that you currently have. So any other thoughts on the Boneyard match here before we get to the masterpiece?
I see this one. This one's different from the next one. We're gonna probably be a little breathy about. Like the next one, we're gonna talk into a lot of lengths, because this one was the ending was pretty self-explanatory. You know, AJ with his hand in the grave, and
Yeah.
Undertaker riding off. Well, not in the sunset, but riding off in the dark. You know, after fire, and his logo goes up, and he's gone to the next.
I remember
next
back in the
stage.
day, it was kind of shocking when you had the Buried Alive match between Undertaker and Mankind actually won that with the help of Paul Bearer and the Executioner, who was Terry Gordy. So but you still had the same ending. It was different though. That Undertaker, you know, kind of symbolized him coming back to life, even though he was buried alive. So the one thing I haven't really decided though, because they kept putting Michelle McCool in the middle of the story, I almost felt like she should have been the one on the tractor. But then I'm kind of like, oh, but that would have lessened what was happening. I go back and forth on if I expected to see Michelle McCool when the match was happening, but then reflecting on it, I don't know if I wanted to see her in it or not. I'm not sure. I could go either way on that.
You did say, I think you're the one that said you would have liked to see Michelle McCool on the tractor. Was it that's the scene that you wanted to see him on, or was he on? You wanted to see
like the final where they push the dirt in, it would be Michelle McCool up there with Undertaker by herself. I don't know.
Wouldn't that affect? Because AJ was kind of playing into Michelle runs you and all. Wouldn't that kind of play into that?
Yeah.
I mean, Michelle being out of it.
And that's where I kind of go back and forth on it, where I'm like, oh well, maybe it's better that she wasn't in it because Undertaker got to prove himself by himself, and so I don't know. I kind of expected to see her, but I don't know if I missed her. I'm not sure. I'm undecided, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I guess we move on to the masterpiece then, right? Let's
talk about this.
Yeah, the Firefly Funhouse. So going into this, I had no real expectations of what this was going to be. You kind of said it was going to be what, like a what match? What was it you said?
I thought it was going to be remember the House of Horrors? It was Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So
which kind of was, you know, what it is.
And then maybe some people thought, well, maybe they would try to recreate what they did with the Ultimate Deletion match with Matt Hardy. But you already had the Boneyard match, and you want to do something different. But this completely blew me out of the water on what they did, and it really played into, I think, the Fiend's character and what the story they were telling. So the whole story's been with Bray Wyatt that at WrestleMania 30, John Cena ruined Bray Wyatt, ruined what was happening. That Bray Wyatt was on top of the world, the crowd was behind him. And then John Cena just buried him. And this story has been told, on the internet many times.
Oh yeah.
The burial of Bray Wyatt, and then Bray Wyatt couldn't really find anything to do, and he's been kind of like meandering. And now we get the Fiend character, and now the Fiend is going to rectify this. So the whole Firefly Funhouse was different stages of John Cena's life almost, and John Cena's failures and John Cena's wants, and Bray Wyatt through the whole thing. I don't know if he's trying to change John Cena and make him because we always know that the Fiend changes people when they fight the Fiend. So is he trying to change John Cena, or is he trying to punish John Cena? And I think we go through this whole funhouse of these different stages, and maybe we'll talk about each stage. And there's certain things happening in each stage. But what do you think? Do you think that's what I don't know.
No.
No.
I think it's now again, we didn't know if Undertaker's was the end, and this is the end of his career or whatever, but what if this is the end of John Cena's career? What if this is John's, because it was said that Bruce Pritchard, John Cena, and Bray Wyatt worked on this. So all three worked on this masterpiece. So what if, Bray's like, let's put in, how you screwed me over all those years ago. And John Cena's like, well, what if I don't get back in the ring again? What if there's a chance that I'll never wrestle again, that this could be it. This could be my last WrestleMania. So let's go all out. Let's see what we can do. Come up with a good story, put it all out there, and and see how people take it. So
Well,
I think this, if you, like you said, we can break it out in sections, but this is kind of his. I don't know if it's exact. Like I said with the Undertaker, I don't know if it's exactly his last match, but right now it's looking like he set that up for that. And there's a lot of reasons for it, and I can tell you that as we go through it.
I don't know, but let's look at it. So John Cena comes out. He comes out in the actual PC.
Welcome to WrestleMania.
And then it's a lot of lip service. So this is fan service. If you've been watching wrestling for the last 30 years, a lot was said to you directly through this match, hidden everything. So
can we back up real quick? Can we talk about the video pack? The video package sets up everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Now it's a big piece of the actual segment itself. It's very telling of what's going to happen during this. That I don't know if you noticed that the video package for setting it up is very telling of what's to come inside the match. I mean, it was probably one of the most beautiful video packages. If you go back to it right before the match happens, if you go right back to it and you're like, wow, that they set that up perfectly.
Yeah.
And then once it starts, it's John Cena coming out to his music. Like you said, the fan service is there. John Cena's looking at the camera. He's like smiling, like, me at WrestleMania, you guys. I'm here, and then he'd start doing the welcome to WrestleMania bit.
And I think one of the most telling pieces of the package is when John Cena says he's here to end the most overhyped, over whatever wrestler.
We'll get to that, and then we'll get that in the last.
But the question is, but here's another question for you, okay? When John Cena says that, John Cena's saying that to the Fiend,
right?
But then is the Fiend echoing that same sentiment back to John Cena at this?
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychology here.
It's all psychology, but it's all setting that up. It's all foreshadowing. It's all part of the that's part of the brilliance of this whole entire storyline. So you start off with John Cena welcoming you to WrestleMania, and it goes into the clips of Vince McMahon doing it, which again is another sign of foretelling a story of John Cena with the fan service, because John Cena's a showman. When Vince McMahon started coming up with the WrestleMania thing, he was a showman too, trying to, it's all telling. Every segment has some part of John Cena, and it's telling the story of what John Cena was and started out as.
But it's also interesting because when Vince McMahon pops up, and you have to realize that John Cena's always been Vince McMahon's boy.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
And John Cena, on the flip side, has always done things to please Vince McMahon, specifically done things. So when we see a lot of times Bray Wyatt is criticizing John Cena, but I also think he's criticizing Vince McMahon at the same time. So we get John Cena moving into the Firefly Funhouse. He talks to Ramblin' Rabbit a little bit. People have speculated who Ramblin' Rabbit represents, maybe the internet, maybe wrestling fans in general.
I think it's right.
And then he exits out the door, and the door is I have that right here. So I got the sign on my door too. So he goes into this dimension, and they start off with John Cena as a rookie, and we all remember John Cena coming out to challenge Kurt Angle on SmackDown with the ruthless aggression.
But that was set up so perfectly, right? So you have Vince McMahon puppet. The Vince McMahon puppet pops up, which is what do they call him? Mr. Bossman? Is that what his name is? Yeah, he's hilarious. So he's telling him, "What are you gonna do? You got to go out there, give me ruthless aggression." And then he says, "Or you're fired." So then you see that horrible getup that John Cena sported his first rookie moment. You saw the fist. You got the fist, the SmackDown fist right
Yes.
there, which is awesome. Nice little callback to that, which everybody loves that part. And Bray Wyatt playing the part of Kurt Angle, and he played that perfectly. You know, I love the cuts from Bray to whatever the video he's portraying. I love the cuts from him to that video. That worked very. I mean, this whole segment match was miles above what we saw with the Taker match. Was the way it was produced, the way it was made was miles above what they did with the Taker.
Oh,
with the
absolutely.
Taker fight. But then the whole point of him just saying ruthless aggression the whole time, again, another telling thing. That's another part of John Cena, because Bray Wyatt was making fun of him the whole time, saying, "I can't believe."
But here, I'll throw this out there too. Is Bray Wyatt commenting on John Cena being the puppet for Vince McMahon? That Vince McMahon keeps saying it,
yeah.
And Cena just keeps saying it. He can't get over. He can't get over, and he can't punch Bray. So he keeps doing it. He looks exactly the way that Vince McMahon wants people to look. He says the exact things that Vince McMahon wants you to say, but he still can't get over. My
favorite line from the whole thing is when Bray Wyatt, the one time when he misses and Bray Wyatt goes, "You can look, but you can't."
Exactly. So
what a smack in the face that was. And the whole and what does that go? Where does it go from there? It goes from the ruthless to the
to his first gimmick, then to when he comes out as the Doctor of Thugonomics.
Yeah.
No. It goes to the 80s stuff. So we go from
the main event. Yes, the main event stuff.
So then we go from his debut, and then we flash back, and I think this is a hearkening to the type of wrestler that Vince McMahon wants again.
Yes.
That he wants, the big, the buff, the whatever. There's a line in there. Let me find what it is. Bray Wyatt says, "That's what being a stud is all about, having muscles, no matter what little talent you possess." And it kind of goes back to how Hogan was. Hogan could probably wrestle. We saw matches with him and Inoki over in Japan, and Hogan's doing toe locks and arm drags and all this, right? Hogan could wrestle. John Cena can wrestle, but you don't need to in the WWF or the WWE. That you can be big. You could have a gimmick. And this is kind of like, it's kind of weird that this is here, but because I think it's too soon for the story at this point, but it's kind of like setting up what Vince McMahon wanted John Cena to be. And Vince McMahon and Cena couldn't deliver this. Cena that was not John Cena at the time.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, that part. The keep your hands up, and then the part where John Cena, he's got his, he's trying to fight Bray, and then Bray's just like, "What you gonna do when the egomaniac comes?" What is it? It comes towards you or through you. Egomaniac comes through you. So it's talking about, again, John Cena's ego, also into that too. So there's a lot of what Vince McMahon portrays, and then what John Cena's ego is like, because John Cena is built and muscle bound and all that.
So then we get to the Doctor of Thugonomics.
That part is one of my favorites.
And he comes out and he's dressed in his New York Yankees jersey, and he starts rapping with Bray, and this is kind of where
Bray promo.
The what?
The Bray promo. The Bray promo.
Yeah.
When he goes from
and then once again, this John Cena. Like, looking back, it's brilliant because you never think about this. But this John Cena, as he is in this, rapper gimmick, is all, once again, what Vince McMahon thinks is funny. So it's, the STFU and the five knuckle shuffle, all the sexual jokes and the F jokes. And this is all getting down to the core. So finally, John Cena is satisfying his master, Vince McMahon, and Bray, and he's still, kind of like burying people by just making fun of them and saying, and talking about, you look at all of John Cena's promos, and he likes to he likes to go break that fourth wall almost and talk about backstage stuff and to try and bury the guy.
Harris was mentioned.
he always does that in all of his promos and stuff. And so, like, you get Bray, who finally calls him out, and Bray says, "No, John, you're a bully.
You're a bully.
This is who you are. You've buried people. You're a bully. You make fun of people. You've made fun of me." And like John Cena kind of like looks at him like what are you talking about? Almost thinks about it, and then drops right into a D's nuts joke, you know. So right falling right back in, not acknowledging. And this is where I think Bray is trying to challenge him mentally, not physically. So this whole, people say, oh, this wasn't a match. It was a match. It was a match of the mind where Bray Wyatt is challenging him mentally and trying to defeat him mentally, maybe change him mentally, and then ultimately trying to get ready for when you actually have your confrontation between The Fiend and John Cena. So thoughts on this part?
Well, I mean, you said it perfectly. Obviously, it was Bray telling John, look, you're a bully, dude. Like, you push people around. This is you. This gimmick was you being just this jerk. And then that's when you see John Cena like looking like maybe seeing it for himself, and then he, like you said, he does the the nuts in your face thing. And then of course Bray just it magically gets his his necklace, his chain necklace in his hand, and hits him down, and that's when you go into probably one of the best segments, where it goes to Bray Wyatt talking about Bray, being Bray Wyatt and coming up, and that's setting up the WrestleMania that they had in 2016.
Yeah. So then they go into the whole thing with the chair. And like Bray Wyatt, does his old gimmick, talks about his story, giving John Cena that option to change once again, to rectify his mistake. And John Cena just goes all in, swings the chair. So this part of the match wasn't that long, but it was very powerful what was happening. It was emotional what was happening. But then you go completely left field, and I like this. This is weird. Where John Cena comes out, or Bray Wyatt comes out as Eric Bischoff. John Cena comes out as Hollywood Hogan. Once again, that Hogan character that Vince McMahon always wanted Cena to be. And the fans, how many fans have said over the years?
Want to be a heel. Yep.
John Cena would be so much better as a heel. Oh my God, if he could just join the NWO.
This was the segment of the heel. Yep.
And here you finally get that. So now you see John Cena in the NWO, the heel role, after having just swung and not letting up, because John Cena throughout this whole match is trying to fight Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, and he's doing heelish things throughout the whole thing, like not being remorseful, swinging the chair at him. So now John Cena is that full-fledged heel, that NWO, that thing we've always wanted to see. I thought it was really, really cool when that happened. I'm like, this is like, at this point, I'm like, this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen. I was glued to my television throughout the whole thing.
So this part, again, brilliant from the like I said, the cuts, the cuts from Bray to Bischoff, back to Bray again, was perfectly put in there. And of course, the way John Cena played that whole NWO part was phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, he kind of looked, when he came in, it kind of reminded me of Macho Man when he had a Macho. Macho Man was on the NWO too. So I mean, it looked very Macho Man-esque the way he came into the ring and strolled up and did the too sweet. And then out of nowhere he tries to attack Bray. I don't understand that part. I guess that was the heel part of him, trying to tag, and he starts punching and punching. Again, we're at the heel John Cena. Oh, I'm gonna take out. I'm taking out.
But
Eric
during
Bischoff,
that part, if you watch, because they keep cutting to old matches.
Yes.
And
that was great.
And every single match that they cut to is one of John Cena's failures. Is something that did not go right for John Cena.
They showed CM Punk. Oh my God, guys! Yeah. They showed CM Punk.
CM Punk made the show.
Oh no, he's
But
returning.
like his loss to The Rock, the CM Punk thing, every single one of those things is one of John Cena's. Those things are not just random clips. They're John Cena's failures. Once again, building that story of John Cena trying to get over and failing many, many times and failing at it. And then you go back. He's fighting Husky Harris, the Husky the pig. So he kind of just looks at it, and then and then we go back to kind of like the in-ring stuff. And maybe this is the point. Some people say this is the point where John Cena realizes what this whole thing was about, and now he's been mentally defeated by this point. That he's been forced to look at his failures, forced kind of like The Rock, and this is your life. This is a high level. This is your life. Like that's what's going on here.
Yeah, and that's the part, and that's when the part where you get once Fiend takes over, once Fiend is got him in the Sister Abigail. That's when you get the whole line of trying to get rid of the most overrated superstar in the WWE universe. It was that's the part where you were just like, oh crap, that came all together just to that's what I mean. The whole foreshadowing of John Cena saying that to getting to that point where Fiend was about to just end it right there was beautiful. That was great. That was beautiful.
It was great.
Like,
and you don't need a match.
Just the way it ended. No.
Like you don't need a match at this point. You need Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, destroying John Cena. This is what the people have wanted.
Now, do you remember at the end of the match where Fiend had his arms spread out? Do you remember what happened?
No.
There. John Cena disappears.
Oh.
So that's why I told you this is another thing where is this John Cena's last match, because John Cena did disappear right at the end of it.
Or
is that foreshadowing itself, or like you said, it was inside the mind and that he was just defeated. That's when he was defeated and he just disappears, and you have the Fiend right there in the middle of the ring. But again, a lot of people are looking at that and going, "Oh crap, he just disappeared." Like people are like, "Wow, this could be John Cena's last match. This could be John Cena's last WrestleMania moment."
And I wouldn't, and maybe this is tying the beginning and the end together. That when John Cena first came out, John Cena said, "Hey, I'm skipping WrestleMania this year. It's time to let the future take over." Maybe after all of this, that realization point is that John Cena realizes that what he said to begin there needs to happen. And maybe, like you said, maybe we won't ever see John Cena again.
Well, we'll see John Cena. We might not see him in an actual. We don't even know how long we're going to see. How long it's going to take to see John Cena after this, because once he's gone, this could be his. He could be out for a long time because he's doing his movies. He's got all this other stuff. That goofy dumb haircut he has.
I wouldn't really expect to see him very much anyway. So I don't know. Overall, these two matches were really good. I think the Firefly Funhouse match was absolutely fantastic. Was amazing.
God. And and it's crazy. It's crazy that there are people out there that still think it's not a good. They're like, oh, that was dumb. That was the dumbest thing I had to sit through. Are you kidding me? Like,
I think I'll be honest with you, sitting through Edge and Randy Orton that for 45 minutes where I just saw the same fight on NXT 2 weeks ago through the Performance Center. I thought that went on way too long, and I checked out about 5 minutes into that match.
Somebody said something about that match. They're like, should we be choking people with equipment right now, guys? I mean,
yeah, it's just it was just
after the Chris Benoit thing. It's like, you guys really want to choke each other out with the workout equipment?
it was just really strange and
weird.
and like I just felt that two guys just beating each other with no crowd, and it just went on too long. It was too much.
And there was a story, but like a difference between that and the Taker story. Like this is again another difference is like that one. Yeah, there was a lot of story, a lot of emotion, and you know what? I give Orton and Edge a lot of credit because they worked their asses off to provide that story for him. But again. Yeah. it was dragged out a little too much. Some of the parts were a little uncomfortable. The workout room scene was kind of weird, especially like some of the moves they're trying to do off the machinery.
And
It's
like I
you
said,
guys,
we just saw
no,
this with Gargano and Ciampa. Like, and I'll be honest, the Gargano Ciampa workout room, like he threw like shit into the glass and it all shattered.
yeah,
Like it was a lot more fun, to be honest. So I don't know. But these other two cinematic matches, I think were top notch. I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, and we should see more. I mean, this I think this is how Bray Wyatt won the Fiend. Okay, Fiend is not a match guy. Fiend is not a guy to hold a title. Let's all be real here. I know you fans want Fiend to be like this guy that holds the titles and stuff like that, but it's unrealistic. I mean, saying something's unrealistic is crazy in this kind of insane like masterpiece that they had.
Yeah.
But the realistic version of how they want Fiend is he's a monster and he's Undertaker-esque. He's the way Undertaker used to be. Very, very mysterious. Undertaker was, Undertaker had that whole gimmick of being, being the mysterious ministry guy. And that's kind of what Bray's doing right now. Bray kind of took over that mantle with Fiend. Fiend kind of is replacing the Undertaker. Let's be real. Let's put it out right now. Yeah. Fiend is replacing the Undertaker, and he should be because, you need somebody different because Undertaker's not going to be here forever. And there's a lot of people saying Fiend, was going to be gone by the end of this year. I don't think they lose that gimmick. That gimmick can't go away. I mean, it's still strong. It's still a strong gimmick. But you put him in crappy matches, and you put him in with Goldberg. I don't want to talk about that match because that whole thing will just piss me off some more because I'm a huge Fiend fan, and losing to Goldberg is the worst thing you could do to that character. You basically cheapen that character. But whatever. That's fine. He shouldn't even have the title anyways. Problem is you have that, and now fans have that in their head, like, oh, he got beat by Goldberg. If you just kept with the cinematic stuff, because that's what Bray built. They had the Firefly Funhouse. That was his thing. And if you kept it with this whole like otherworldly kind of way of telling a story, with the Fiend, it would have been awesome. Kept with the lights shutting off and then having these crazy segment matches. Those work. Those work with this guy. This is the character that he's portraying. And I think that's the one that's the way you want to do it. I mean, a lot of times when people say, well, if you don't like him, you just don't get it. And that's true. You don't get it. If you don't like what's going on with the Firefly Funhouse or anything Bray Wyatt's doing, you don't get it. And you want Goldberg and all that other crap. You can have him.
I remember back to, an episode we did when Firefly Funhouse first started, and people were like, oh, this is bullshit. They're ruining Bray Wyatt. And it's literally been the best thing on television for the last year or so. It's been absolutely amazing.
I still watch old Firefly Funhouse episodes. Like those are so good. Like they still hold up. And that's what wrestling should. This is what WWE should be about, because back then it was all about the crazy gimmicks. It was all about the silly antics. The Mark Henry. Did everybody forget about Mark Henry and Mae Young? Did everybody forget
no
about
one's
that
forgotten
storyline?
about that. No one has.
But I'm just saying, like people are like, oh, this is crazy. No, this has been WWE. I think what happened was WWE lost who they were. That's why it kind of drew me away from it, because it was trying to be more like AEW or anybody like the independent scene, where they're trying to have more wrestling matches. I'm like, I'm not about that. I don't care so much about the wrestling as much as I care about the gimmicks and the storylines. That's what I want. Now I know that's what you want, because you love gimmicks. You're a gimmick guy.
I do.
So you would rather have, you and I love Alexa Bliss, not just because she's hot. I mean, everybody wants to say, oh, we like her because she's got a good gimmick. She's a bitch. She's a goddess bitch.
That's for you, Brian Bass. I know you're watching.
Right. And that's an amazing gimmick. It really is. And the way she tells it, the way she tells the story, it's perfect. Like she knows how to use it. She knows how to turn everything on. She knows how to turn it off. She's got one of the best gimmicks in the whole thing. And so does somebody like Kevin Owens. He's got that, got that whole Shane McMahon kind of feel now to his gimmick. So that's where I'm at.
And it's
Sorry to ramble on.
It's something that they've been missing is good stories and good characters, and
Good
now
gimmicks.
we finally have that. And like you said, it's always been there with Kane and the buried alive matches and Mankind, and it's always been there. And some of the best WWE stuff has always focused on, my first thing I ever watched when I watched wrestling was when when Undertaker and Ultimate Warrior on the funeral parlor, and Undertaker slams Warrior's hand into the casket, and it's a whole thing. And this was all storyline. Like we had Papa Shango making black ooze falling from Warrior's head. Like, come on, like this
that's what I'm saying. That's the best part about WWE and the it wasn't always, people are like, oh, was it wrestling? No shit, it wasn't wrestling.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be. If you want that, go to that garbage AEW. WCW had the same kind of thing. They had gimmicks and stuff like that. And then you had ECW, which was more about the wrestling. And I mean, they were more about tearing each other up and stuff like that. But now you're like, oh, I want to watch AEW because it's more about wrestling. Nobody wants that garbage. Nobody wants to see your win-loss record. I don't care about that. I don't care about your win-loss record.
Don't care. I don't care.
No, and you were like always like, when you watch wrestling, you go, they're not. Why do I care about this match? Because they're not wrestling for a belt. You said that. Remember that's kind of like your thing. Yeah. Why would I? But back then, they didn't have to have a belt to make a match for you to care about. There was a lot of times like Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. That didn't have a belt. That was a retirement match, and that had a lot of story, a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
and it was but
something was on the line there. Like, that's not a good example.
I know. Okay, well, what's a good example? Kane and Undertaker. That whole thing that never had to have a belt with it. They never had, like, they had there's different things with that storyline. There's family troubles, Undertaker burning his brother, those kind of things.
It's all about the story you create behind it. And like,
how is that realistic?
Like, even though like Edge and Orton had a good story leading in, I just felt like I knew the ending already, and there wasn't much point to actually watching what happened there. Like, I knew what was going to happen there. Like, I like, to end with a concerto was almost cliche.
Yeah, the Bray Wyatt, the whole thing, we didn't know what was going on. I don't know how you watched it, but I watched it with my mouth open the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, and I know people are going to be like, oh, you're crazy, but I felt like I was falling in love with wrestling again. I'm like, oh my God, I'm falling in love with WWE again. I used to be a big, huge fan of The Rock. Till then, I haven't really found anybody that I'm like all about, because The Rock used to be this gimmick where he was a jackass to everybody and making fun of them, and he didn't know he wasn't a wrestler. Let's be honest. Like, all those the kid doesn't do flips and shit. He's not flippy, or he doesn't have spots and all this other crap. He was a big bruiser guy who had a freaking elbow for his finisher.
Yeah.
I mean, when people are like, oh, that's not real wrestling, you used to be a fan of a guy that had an elbow as a finisher. That elbow didn't do shit. The people's elbow doesn't do shit. He just waves his arms, goes from rope to rope, and then does an elbow drop. And that's somebody's like basic move sets. So like, everybody's saying that, oh, this is not wrestling. This is exactly what wrestling needs to be. This is exactly what WWE needs to be. Yeah. Because I'm sick of hearing all this bullshit that people are going, that's not real wrestling. And
the thing is you've been complaining about the real wrestling for years now, and how they don't ever do anything new, and how they don't do anything different. And here you have something new, here you have something different, and the same old people are complaining. Well, for those people, I would suggest they just move on and probably find some other hobby or some other organization and just stop watching. But this was great.
Just watch AEW.
Just amazing.
Go ahead. Just stay with your AEW. You can go back. You can go to that and watch that as a month. You can watch Cody Rhodes.
The Dark Order.
Stupid whatever is going on there. The Dark Order. That's happening now. That's realistic. You're right, guys. I'm sorry, fans. That's right. You're right. That's realistic too. I'm sorry. Not only do they try to bring in the gimmicks, and where they say they weren't going to do gimmicks, AEW said, we're not going to be gimmicks. We're just going to have real wrestling. And now they're bringing in gimmicks. So guess what? What was that? You're a contradiction. Thank you, AEW. You're a freaking walking contradiction. You just
Well, I think that will wrap it up for us here tonight on Ride.
Sorry for the rants, folks. I'm just getting really mad at
Rob Dole is fired up tonight. One Rob Dole is fired up.
No, I just you go on social media and you see a lot of just the garbage that people put out there. You see the vomit that they spew. They're just they're all keyboard warriors going, well, this is not real wrestling. Yeah. I thought this was shit. Are you kidding me? Why wasn't like Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar again? Blah blah blah. That's all they want. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. If you want two beefy guys going at it, why don't you go somewhere else?
Go somewhere else. Go watch Ring of Honor or something, right? So
okay, sorry.
Well, I'm of course the face that runs the place. I am Andy Rabarchak, signing off.
And I am one pissed off Ronto.
You are. So as always, right on, Pride Warriors.